We begin in Nigeria, where citizens may witness another blackout after the national grid system operated by the Transmission Company of Nigeria from Osogbo in Osun State collapsed. Reports show that the grid plummeted to a meager 273 megawatts of electricity coming from 2 out of the over 27 electricity generation. This comes barely a week after TCN celebrated 400 days of grid stability. A number of distribution companies confirmed that the grid went down at 12:41 a.m. local time, disclosing that most of their feeders are out. As of 4 a.m. on Thursday, 5 generating plants were on the grid. Afam VI had 0.70 megawatts. Dadinkowa was generating 0 megawatts. Ibom Power had 32.90 megawatts. Jebba had 240 megawatts. And Olorunsogo was on the grid with 0 generation. At about 1 a.m., the total power on the grid was 35 megawatts, indicating that the country experienced a total collapse. The grid went to 193 megawatts at about 3 a.m. before climbing to 273 megawatts. To discuss this, we are being joined by Engineer Charles Akintayo for a broader perspective on this story. Thank you so much, Charles, for talking to us this afternoon. Hello, Engineer Charles, are you there? Hello, Engineer Charles, I would like to confirm. You may need to unmute your device so that I can hear you.
I'm unmuted. I'm with you.
All right, that's good.
I can hear you clearly.
Yes, I can hear you too. Now, there's been cases of incessant grid collapse in Nigeria. Can you provide an overview of the factors contributed or that actually contributed to the grid collapse in the nation?
Yeah, thank you so much. Sorry for the incessant collapse we have on our system in the morning when I was supposed to be with you. The same thing that happens frequently. In the last 8 or 9 years, we've had about 100 times of system collapse in our generating supply system. The major problem we have today is, in the electricity supply chain, you have the generation, you have the transmission, as well as the distribution. But the major hiccups we have today is the transmission. Our transmission cannot take up to 6,000 megawatts for the distribution centers to work on. It's like you have a fuse in your system. The fuse is rated at a particular load. In terms of the amperage that the fuse can take, immediately you want to exceed it, the fuse will cut off to protect every other thing on the other side of your device. The same thing with our transmission. I know Nigeria has been trying all this while, but the problem is still the transmission. The generation, they've tried to produce up to 12. They said they have the capacity to produce up to 12. Like when you are doing your analysis, you try to tell us some of these generating plants were down. They were not even supplying. All because the amount that has been supplied was even bigger than what the transmission could take to distribute. And I believe last few years, before the COVID, Siemens Power from Germany came into Nigeria to tell us that they have a solution to our problem. And they planned that by the year 2023, something will come up for us to be able to generate up to be able to transmit up to 7,000. And then maybe in some few years, we'll be able to get to 25,000 megawatts. But today, where is Siemens? Nobody's hearing anything about them. By the close of the last administration, the thing went down and nobody heard anything about them. I know maybe this government is trying to negotiate again with the Indians, with the Chinese, and the major problem we have is still our policies. How do we have abandoned projects all around? The same thing with this. When are we going to learn that we should have continuity in our policies? Our problem is transmission. Find a solution, a lasting solution.
Now that you've been
a new power minister now.
Engineer Charles.
We should be able to do something.
Engineer Charles, now that you've been able to identify that the issue is with the transmission lines, so we want to look at the equipment and what strategies or measures that you believe can be implemented to enhance the resilience of Nigeria's power grid and, of course, reduce the frequency of these grid collapse that we keep experiencing in the country.
Yeah, thank you. I think if I don't know how far it's gone with the Siemens. If Siemens have a solution and they brought it to fall, what affected it being implemented? The last time we heard about it is that they brought in some things, and the picture was shown that went viral, that in Abuja they brought in some equipment. But what is happening? We should not keep quiet. We should talk. People should tell us what is really happening. I believe the policymakers, they know what is really happening, but everybody is keeping quiet. If we don't tell the people, we may not know, because many of those things are kept in secrecy. And those who know, they don't allow people to really, who need to give them the right advice are not. I don't think we are involved. The engineers are supposed to be involved, but they keep all these things to their chest. Everything is, I believe, more of politics than professionalism. Let's tell us what is the situation. Maybe the power minister had to be put on the forefront now to be asked, what is our problem? And where did he meet it? And what lies his plan for us as a nation? Because we cannot continue with this. Our industries are dying. Nobody is moving anywhere. If you are saying that there are alternatives, where are the alternatives? You can't operate some equipment with solar. You can't operate many equipment with even diesel's price is very high. All of us are talking about LPG, CNG. LPG. Some few weeks ago was about 600. Today, my boy who just came in told me the price has risen. It's about 800, 900 per kg. Why CNG has risen from being 1,100 and 1,110 naira to around 200 plus. So in essence, everything is galloping, and we can't stay on that to say we want to use it for operation. The federal government has to tell us what is the real problem now.
All right, Engineer Charles. Engineer Charles, we know that the grid is back up and running, but then maybe not at the optimal capacity that so many Nigerians are hoping for, most especially the fact that businesses make do with this power, and of course individual households also use this power for personal consumption. But then there are there technological advancements or maybe best practices or some other way by which we can employ in terms of looking at other countries and what they have in their systems that is working for them, that Nigeria can also tap into to see how to improve the reliability of grid infrastructure in the country, and of course be able to increase capacity, distribution, generation, and have these infrastructure equipment running at, well, a very modest but then optimal standard.
Yeah, thank you. If you listen to what President Obasanjo just said of recent about how he led the power system, he said he brought in some turbines, but up to today, those turbines are not installed. Why do we leave our policy uncontinued? Until we come to realize that if you have a project, you must have a starting time and an ending time. But in Nigeria is that we abandon policies that will benefit the people. It's just under abandonment. The policy Obasanjo set up was abandoned. If by today we've been throwing that policy in terms of generation, leave distribution, generation and transmission, I don't think we'll be talking this way. Every government must know that no policy that will affect the people must be abandoned. Some will start a road, and the next government will leave it at the same at where it meets it. And before you know it, if anybody wants to start again, it will start even worse than the place will be left worse than where the other one started. And it's people's money. We keep doing, and unfortunately, some of these parts that was supposed to be used during that period, maybe in the year 1999, 2000, might have been obsolete by now. This is 20 years plus after. So this is a part of this. We should understand that if we are ready to do a project, we should see it from the beginning to the end.
Okay.
The solution now is that we should allow Siemens to do their work and give us what they have. Pari passu with what we have. While we keep managing what we have, let them give us the timetable for Siemens. And people should be on them to really know when they are going to deliver. Because it is our project. It is not only government, but government sees it as their project alone.
All right, Engineer Charles.
And as long as we are not having it, we keep crying.
Engineer Charles, before I let you go, we understand that the government has a critical role to play in this discussing situation. But then let's talk about the engineers on ground, the personnel, and the equipment. So, in your own opinion, what role should data analysis and predictive modeling play in preventing future power grid failures? And how would you go about implementing such solutions? Because it's not just about having a problem happen and we're looking for solutions, but then we trying to preempt and, of course, prevent such occurrences.
Like we normally see, if you look at looking at the roads and every infrastructure has a maintenance schedule. I believe our engineers are trying to even keep us on that 5,000 for so long. But if the equipment are not available, what will they work on? The equipment that you give them is what they are working on. We work, but the result cannot be shown if those things to work with are not there. The tools are not there. The equipment are not there. The day government brings the equipment, we see them working. And I can vouch for every Nigerian engineer working in the power sector that they are overworked. I can say that with all emphasis. They are overworked already. All we need is that let them give us this equipment, let them install them, and then we just see the miracles they are doing. Because most times, most of the things we get, if you go back to those stations, like the one in Osogbo, this main transmission station in Osogbo, you find out that most of those equipment are obsolete. But our engineers are really genius. They've really put in their ingenuity to make this equipment to be working. And kudos to them. And that is what is keeping us.
All right,
but Engineer like Charles. I said, I used the example of a fuse at the beginning. If the fuse is getting to that level of which it has to break, it will break.
Engineer Charles Akintayo, thank you so much. I know that you have a lot to say, but then we're pressed for time, and that is well said from your end. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you so much. God bless you. Have a nice day.